Welcome to the People Leaders Podcast, the audio resource for managers and business leaders creating high-performing teams. Join leadership and team development experts Jan and Michelle Turkelson each week as they explore both subjects from every angle. Through practical tips, valuable insights, and compelling interviews with leadership experts around the world, you'll learn how to bring out the best in your staff and how to give your best as a leader.
Hi Michelle.
Hi Jan.
We're here face to face.
Yes, yay, in Byron.
Yeah. So what have you noticed lately?
Oh my dear.
Work?
Everybody is, instead of saying, oh, I'm busy now, they're saying I'm crazy. It's the new busy.
Yeah,
crazy is the new busy.
Yeah. And a lot has changed in leadership, hasn't it? 2021. And we have the privilege to work with a number of organisations across different industries and also, from frontline leaders all the way through.
In different states, across the world.
Yeah, CEOs.
Yeah.
And we wanted to take people through some of those things that have changed in leadership and the shift in leadership that we've seen, and also give you an indication of what good looks like and what the opposite looks like, and some strategies to help you fill that gap.
Yeah, so a lot has changed, but there are some leaders who are navigating this change really well, and there are some leaders that are not navigating this well. And what we're going to show you is what happens when you do, what happens when you don't, and what are some strategies.
But the fundamentals of leadership just haven't changed, have they, Michelle? There are some cool elements of leadership and creating teams that, when done right, under any and every circumstances that we have been privy to in the last 30 years, are working and work.
And that's what Leadership Essentials is all about. And the beauty of the coaching, which is live, is that you can bring your real issues as you are experiencing them now to the coaching so that you can get coached on that. So yeah, we're all going through change at the moment and trying to navigate this new way of working, and that's why I think Leadership Essentials is more essential than ever.
So the first one that we've noticed is that pretty much every organisation is more tech savvy than what they have ever been in the last 5 to 10 years. So everyone understands some of those technology platforms. They're just a lot more easier to set up meetings and be able to connect. So we know that what's working is that everyone has developed their capacity and capability of technology, right? So more savvy. The flip side of that is everyone is zoomed out.
Yeah.
Every meeting and workshop and development opportunity is usually over Zoom. And what we have found that it works under certain circumstances. And one of the things that we have found is agendas, and in team meetings, this is when it is so much more important to have a really tight, specific and purposeful agenda with an outcome on it.
Yeah.
Not just a to-do list, there is a clear outcome.
Yeah, and that's why, we're calling them agenda outcomes rather than just saying, sales figures. What we really encourage you to do is, what is the output that you want to either have agreed or decided or covered off as a result of this agenda item. Another strategy that we've found where people are, working well in this area is they build in break times. Yeah.
So usually an hour and a half is absolute maximum until you have a break time, and actually build that into your agenda. And we encourage people to step away from Zoom, turn off their cameras, go out, get some sunlight, stand up.
Yeah, and we don't say 5 minutes, we say 10 minutes. Do it for 10 minutes, and it really does make the difference, and you get through so much more in the second part of the session or the meeting.
Yeah, and we found that organisations who actually build that in are a lot more productive and effective. And the third thing in this, new tech, the shift in technology and leadership is, how do you engage people and get them involved in Zoom? Because we can tell when people are looking at their screen and looking at emails as opposed to being absolutely involved, and that's part of the facilitator or the person who has called the meeting to really engage people. So ask everyone their opinion or get some insight, get some check-ins, just make sure that you build in opportunities for everyone to be engaged. And as we know with the introversion and extroversion, people with introversion actually do like to seek permission or be invited to participate. Extroverts, we'll just kind of like chime on in, but that's a really good way of getting people engaged.
And that's the other advantage of having an agenda-based outcome sent out before the meeting, because what you're allowing is for people for a preference for introversion to contribute.
And in our Leadership Essentials, we talk about how to run those meetings. We have team assessments and, you become, it's such a key area of operational excellence that leaders need to be able to have dialed up.
Yep, without a doubt. So the second area, the second shift is that the effective leaders are becoming better questioners, better listeners, and better at caring what they're doing. And so the real shift is that leadership needs to be able to check in on a deeper level, because when you're sitting across the table from someone doing a check-in or having the meeting or asking them how they're going in a one-on-one, it's so you can read their body language. And then online, it becomes a little bit more nuanced. And so leaders need to be really switched on and ask people how they are on a deeper level or more often, so that they can provide the support and establish that psychological safety that people are craving for in these uncertain times.
And, we know that there is psychological safety in a team when people are asking questions, when they say that they don't know something, when they're asking for support.
When they're being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And what can you do as a leader? Lead the way. If you're feeling uncertain about changes that are coming, there's that balance between being, catastrophizing, I suppose, but also showing that you are human. People want to know that you get them and you get where they're, what they're feeling at this point in time.
And the other area, if you have psychological safety, is that there is some really good, robust conversations happening. And you've got a framework for that. And again, in our Leadership Essentials, we take people through how to create psychological safety, how to develop some really good check-in processes and questions.
And so there is that's great, Jan. That is the strategy. So the leaders that aren't doing that well are not having check-ins; they're just making them cursory. The leaders that are doing them well are going deeper, reading between the lines, and they are giving people time and space to respond. They're asking deeper questions or giving or asking more often. Their care factor has gone up at the end of the day, so up your care factor.
So the third shift that we've seen is the team building, team development. So the organisations and businesses that are doing it well are actually continuing team development, whereas the ones who aren't doing it well are putting it on hold or perhaps just doing team building. And there is a slight difference to team building and team development. And team development is everyone walks away with something that they can enhance their level of effectiveness. So there's more meaning and purpose to it. And what we have found is that those leaders and organisations are really curating the type of content and team development workshops that they know that their people and that their leaders need. And the ones who aren't doing it are putting it on hold, saying, no, we have to wait face to face, or we have to wait until we're less busy. And then that's a really key shift that we've noticed.
Absolutely, and it never happens. Which leads us to our next shift that we are seeing is that we are getting so many requests and information about trust. How do I build trust in this virtual environment? Or it's a new team and we just don't seem to have that trust factor there. And so, the managers and the leaders who are doing this really well are spending the time, energy and effort on building trust behaviours. And for the, less aware leaders, they recognise it's an issue, but it's a we'll get there when we can do it face to face. And so again, if we can encourage, just think about, so am I doing these things, like am I talking straight? Am I demonstrating respect? Am I creating transparency? Am I righting wrongs? Am I admitting when I'm making mistakes? Am I showing loyalty? Am I delivering results? Because that is one of the biggest areas to lose trust, is to not do what you say you're going to do. Are you getting better? Are you confronting what is really going on? Really big one, Jen, isn't it? Clarifying expectations. Are you practicing accountability, not only for yourself but for your team members? Are you seeking first to listen and to understand? Again, keeping your commitments, and are you extending trust? And so these are some of the trust-building behaviours that Kobe talks about in Speed of Trust. And we know Patrick Lencioni, the 5 dysfunctions of a team, which we know so many of our listeners rate really highly. He talks about trust being one of the fundamentals of a high-performing team, and we agree.
Yeah, and when you want to develop a trust behaviour or any of these, you've got to risk something. Yeah. Otherwise it's not trust. So you have to have a certain level of safety and certainty in order to do that. And in Leadership Essentials, we actually talk about those strategies, and we practice how every person who is leading a team can do it authentically, because it might be different from one leader to another. It will look different, that's right. And we do spend a bit of time on how to build trust within a team in our Leadership Essentials course. Yeah, so the 5th shift that we've noticed is, funnily enough, one of the trust-building behaviours is clarifying expectations. So we have found that leaders who are working really well in this environment clarify and set expectations. They really have some robust communication protocols, and the ones who aren't doing so well are pretty wishy-washy. And what we've found is the ones who clarify expectations at the beginning, at the very start of a project or a conversation or a workshop or anything that they're commencing. And it could be just at the beginning of the week, like what does done look like? What could prevent the outcome from occurring? How do we keep each other in the loop?
Love it.
How do we, share a particular potential derailer? So, for example, I might share that I have a tendency to micromanage when I'm under stress. So how are we going to deal with that? And actually starting from that position.
And I love those questions, Jen, because these can be questions that you ask of yourself. So as a manager, I'm setting expectations, and then I think to myself, so was I clear about what done looks like? And the other thing is, did I articulate what a potential derailer could be? So this could be something that is a checklist for yourself, or you could make it explicit with the other. That's what I like about them.
And that thing about being explicit, Michelle, is don't assume that expectations are clear, agreed, or shared. Yeah, so how will you know unless you really get that explicit understanding? And when you can do it at the start of something, it creates a really good foundation to move forward. And in Leadership Essentials, we have a whole module around prioritising, clearing expectations. Yeah.
Fantastic. And then this is almost like the bonus one, isn't it? So that the other key shift, and I'm sure everybody will go, yes, amen, that's me, is that there is this always on culture. And that means all of our clients are saying, I've never had so many emails and I've never had so many meetings. And when we unpack it a bit, and so what we find is normally I probably would have been able to cover this off because I knew I would have saw this person at this other meeting, and I wouldn't have had to set up a separate meeting for this, or I could have just clarified that extra bit of information that has come in, and I would have gone to their desk and said something. And they don't have that luxury of the incidental contact. And so this always on culture means that I have more emails than ever and more meetings than ever. So what can I do about it? And what some of the good managers are doing is that they are getting really clear about how can they reduce email stress? And that starts with you. Can you send fewer emails? Can, you be clear and concise in your subject matter heading? Can you set expectations about what you will and you won't answer in a certain time frame? And even if you can't explicitly share that with your clients, stakeholders or colleagues, can you start doing it yourself? And then within your area that you can have influence over, just say, look, let's us and our team stick to these sort of protocols. And the other thing is, with this always on culture, take a lunch break. Come on, everybody. How many of you out there are still having lunch at your desk and your desk is in your kitchen? Or in your, and it will make such a difference when you can start to build some joy into the middle of your day by going for a walk and doing something for yourself, getting some fresh air for half an hour, taking your dog for a walk, getting outside.
And you know what? No one's going to pat you on the back and say, well done for sitting at your desk and not having lunch, or well done for getting up and having a walk around. But what it shows is a level of integrity around what kind of leader do you want to role model, because your people perhaps will, take leave of what you're doing as well.
Yeah, and just some other little tips. We heard this phrase called digital Sabbath, so no one should be really forced to answer emails. I still have people who told, I was coaching someone today, saying that somebody was sending emails at 2:00 in the morning. So that is still happening because there's so much stress out there at the moment. And so what are some of those things that we can do to control the amount of stress that we're imposing on others sometimes? And the other one is be polite. Like, just check your intros and outros when you are, we get into that task focused mood. It really does make a difference, to think about your audience and who you are sending that to.
Oh, before you press send, I think this is one thing when we coach people is before you press send, scan through what you are sending them and step into their realm, so this is how to practice empathy and emotional intelligence. So they're going to receive this. Is their receivership going to be met with the same level of sendership, and that's the thing that you want to be mindful of.
And that's something that we also cover off in Leadership Essentials, is because it is such an important communication protocol now, isn't
it? Yeah. So we're all dealing with change, and some of us are developing and growing, and then some of us are stressing and, really feeling in overwhelm. Yeah. So what is the one thing that you can do differently today? Like, is it creating some micro pauses throughout your day? Is it standing up and stretching? Is it coming onto our Leadership Essentials program?
Well, it's definitely that.
Yeah, and really shifting the way in which you operate as a leader and get some really effective practical tools so you can lead people. Because we were talking the other day, Michelle, at a barbecue, and we were talking about, who wants to be that manager that someone is talking about, at the barbecue and says, you know what, my manager is the best person that I've ever worked with. They have my back. They're really clear. I know where they're headed. I know when I'm on track and off track. And it's like, wouldn't it make the world a better place, because it really is such an important position.
And the thing to remember about Leadership Essentials is that all the modules, it's self-paced learning. You download the module and look at it, or just listen to it in your own time. And there is a workbook and a slide deck and templates that belongs to you forever. That's something that you keep. And the only sort of face-to-face live stuff is the coaching, and that's where the juice and really, that's where the magic happens.
And we've put our very best into it. You know what I mean? Like, if we were to just, craft what it is that we would want to coach and share in our leadership programs, these are the things that are in our Leadership Essentials. So we hope that you've received value from this, and we would really invite you to do something for yourself that will enhance your level of effectiveness in this leadership realm and the shifts that you see.
Yeah, good luck, everyone.
You've been listening to the People Leaders Podcast with Michelle and Jan Turkelson. For show notes and other free resources, please visit us at peopleleaderspodcast.com. Do you know someone else who could benefit from cutting-edge leadership and management techniques? Please take a moment to share this and other episodes via your podcast app, email, or social media channels. Each share helps us fulfill our goals of reducing workplace stress and increasing job satisfaction for leaders, managers, and their teams worldwide. The People Leaders Podcast is brought to you by the Experts On Air Podcast Network.